Welcome to Python Introduction. In today's module, we will see data types, variables, and operators. First, let us take the Python introduction. So Python is a general purpose, interpreted, interactive, object-oriented, and high-level programming language. It was created by Guido van Rossum during 1985 to 1990. Like Perl, Python source code is also available under the general public license. This module will give us an understanding on Python programming language. Why are we learning this Python programming language? So, Python is a high-level interpreted, interactive, and object-oriented scripting language. Python is designed to be highly readable. It uses English keywords frequently, whereas other languages use punctuation, and it has fewer syntactical constructions than other languages. Python is a must for students and working professionals to become a great software engineer, especially when they are working in web development, machine learning, AI, and many other domains. We will now list down certain advantages of learning Python. So Python is interpreted, that is, processed at runtime by the interpreter. We do not need to compile your program before executing it. This is very similar to Perl and PHP. The next advantage is Python is interactive. We can actually sit at a Python prompt and interact with the interpreter directly to write our programs. The third advantage, Python is object-oriented. It supports object-oriented style or technique of programming that encapsulates code within objects. Python is a beginner's language. So it's a very simple language and great language for the programming beginners, and it can support the development of wide range of application, right from developing a small machine learning code to a web development to text processing, browsers to games, etc. So characteristics of Python. It supports functional structural programming method as well as object-oriented programming. It can be used as a scripting language, or it can be compiled to bytecode for building large application. It provides very high-level dynamic data type and supports dynamic type checking. It supports automatic garbage collection, and it can easily be integrated with C, C++, and Java. So application of Python. As we have mentioned that Python is one of the most widely used language over the web, we are going to list down the certain application of Python that is easy to learn. So Python has very few keywords, simple structure, and a clearly defined syntax. This allows students to pick up this language very quickly and very easily. So students can learn this language very easily in very short span of time. It is very easy to read. So Python code is more clearly defined and visible to the eyes. Easy to maintain. So Python source code is fairly easy to maintain. A broad standard library. So Python has got extensive library with very portable and cross-platform compatible on Unix, Windows, and Mac operating systems. It has an interactive mode which allows interactive testing and debugging of snippets or code. It is portable. It can run on a wide variety of hardware platforms and has the same interface on all the platforms. It is extendable. That is, we can add low-level modules to the Python interpreter, and these modules enable the programmer to add or customize their tools to be very, very efficient. Then the next advantage is use of database. So Python provides interfaces to all the major commercial databases. GU programming. Python supports graphical user interface application that can be created and ported to many system call libraries and Windows systems such as Windows MFC, Mac, and X Windows system of Unix. And lastly, that it is very scalable. So Python will provide a better structure and support for large programs than shell scripting. So now let us move ahead how we can define data types, variables, and operators using Python interpreter. In our previous lecture, we have seen how we can use a Google Colab. So we will take all the exercises on Google Colab. Let's get started with Google Colab. Click on Google Colab. We can click on New Notebook as discussed in the previous lecture. Okay. Now, this is the editor where we can write program, we can execute program. This interface is provided by Google Colab. So, to write a simple program, what we are going to take is just take a code block. Suppose if I want to write print hello. If I want hello to be written on my output screen, I will simply write print and in brackets, in double quotes, I will define the string. Whichever string I have written inside the double quote will be printed on my output screen. Let's see. To run the code or to execute the code, we can simply press this cell or we can press Control Enter. Right? So now we have this hello string which we had given inside the double quotes printed on the output screen. Now, Python syntax compared to other. So Python was designed for readability and has some similarity to the English language with influence from mathematics. Now, let us see how we can perform simple mathematical operation. Before that, let's see what do you mean by variables in Python. So variables are nothing but reserved memory location to store values. This means that when we want to create a variable, we will reserve some space in memory. Based on the data type of the variable, the interpreter will allocate memory and decide what can be stored in the reserved memory. Therefore, by assigning different data types to the variable, we can store integers, decimals, or characters in these variables. Now, assigning value to variable. So, Python variables do not need explicit declaration to reserve memory space. The declaration happens automatically when we will assign a value to the variable. This assignment can be done by using an equal to operator. So equal to sign is used to assign values to the variables. The operand to the left of the equal to operator is the name of the variable. And operand to the right of the equal to operator is the value stored in the variable. For example, a equals to 10. So a is the name of the variable and 10 is the value stored in the variable. If I want to run this cell, so value of a has been stored in, value of 10 has been stored in the variable a. Now I'll insert a new code block. I will take another variable b. So b is assigned a value 20. So now we have taken another variable b where we are assigning a new value 20. Again, I will run the cell and b will be now stored with a new value 20. Now, again, we will take a new code block and we will try to perform a simple arithmetic operation. Let's say C equals to A plus B. It should automatically take the value of A and B assigned in the previous code block. Now, after this, I want to print the value of C. So we will simply write print C. We will just execute this code in C. Here we have got 30 because A was assigned the value 10, B was assigned the value 20. So automatically it has taken the value 30. So by using this concept of variables and values assigned to the variables, we can perform small mathematical operations. Next, the values assigned to the variables can be any value. It can be an integer value, it can be a float value, right? So now we will see how many different kinds of data types can be allotted to a particular variable. Let's take a new block. I will write name equals to GU. So we have taken a variable name wherein we have assigned the variable name a string value GU. GU stands for Galgotia's University. Next, I want to define another variable, let's say year, or let's say count. Count equals to 10. Now, 10 is an integer value which is being assigned to the variable name count. Now, let's see how we can decide, how we can allot a decimal value. So, we have this decimal equals to 10.35, right? Or we can give this any name. Let's say, or let's keep it as decimal, right? Now, the moment I'll execute this cell, the values will be assigned to the respective variable names. So, the variable name will contain the string value GU. The variable name count will contain the integer value 10, and the variable name decimal will contain a decimal or a floating point value 10.35. Let's see how we can check that. So if I want to check the value of name, I will write print name, print count, and print decimal, and control enter to run the cell. Name gives us the value GU because GU was a string value assigned to the variable name type. Count will give you the value 10, which is an integer value, and decimal will give us the assigned value 10.35, which is a decimal or a floating point value. So this is the basics of variables and data types which is there in Python. Now next, multiple assignment. So Python allows us to assign a single value to several variables simultaneously. For example, A equals to B equals to C equals to 1. So if I want to have multiple assignment, I can say A equals to B equals to C equals to 1. So suppose if I have multiple variables having a common value, we can have a multiple assignment in Python. So now if I want to have A plus B plus C, and then we can check the value, print D. So this is 3 because a common value of 1 was assigned to all the 3 variables A, B and C. Suppose if we want to assign different values to the same operators, how we can do that? Let's see that. Now A, B and C are to be assigned 3 different types of value. Let's say A should contain value 10, B should contain value 20.5, and C should contain a string value, right? So this is called as multiple assignment. In my previous code block, we have seen that how we can assign a common value to multiple variables. Here we are assigning different values to multiple variables at one time. So let's see how we can check this. Let's insert a new code block. Python list. Lists are the most versatile of Python's compound data types. A list contains items separated by commas and it is enclosed within the square brackets. To some extent, lists are similar to arrays in C. One difference between them is that all the items belonging to a list can be of different data type. The values stored in a list can be accessed using the slice operator with square bracket and colon with indexes starting at 0 in the beginning of the list and working their way to end -1. The plus is the sign in the concatenation of operator and asterisk is again the same, the repetition operator, the way we have seen in string. Let's see how we can define a list. So as we have said that in a list we can contain different data types. So we have defined a list wherein it is defined in square bracket and we have given the first value as a string value which is defined by a single quote. The second value is an integer. The third is a float point. The fifth is again in a string and the last is again a decimal number or a floating point. Again, now we have defined a small list for which we have given another variable named tiny list, wherein we have defined only two variables inside it. One is an integer variable and the another is a string. Let's see how we can perform different operations on the third data type list. So print list will give you the complete list which is being defined by the variable name list. The second is print list 0. Print list 0 will give you the first element of the list. So this will print the first element of the list and first element of the list is ABCD which is a string. So ABCD is 0th element, first element is 786, second element is 2.23, third element is John and fourth element is 70.2. Next is print list 1:3. So 1:3 leaving aside 0, 1 and 2 because the last value will be -1. So 3 minus 1 we will get 1 and 2 only. So only 786 and 2.23 will be printed. The next is print list 2:. So 2:0 1. So after 2, all the values will be printed. So the remaining three values 2.23 John and 70.2 will be printed. The next is print tiny list into 2. Suppose we want to repeat the same list twice or thrice. We can give it by an asterisk symbol and we can define the number of times we want it to be repeated. Let's take print tiny list into 2. So the same list will be repeated twice. 123 John, 123 John. It will be combined into a common listing. The second is print list plus tiny list. So with this, we will get the contents of list combined with the tiny list. So here are the four elements of the list combined with the remaining elements of the tiny list. So this is about Python list. Next, we move to Python tuple. A tuple is another sequence data type which is similar to the list. A tuple consists of number of values separated by commas. Unlike list, however, tuples are enclosed within parentheses, whereas in list, it is enclosed within square brackets. The main difference between list and tuple are that lists are enclosed in brackets, that is square brackets, and their element and size can be changed, while tuples are enclosed within parentheses or round brackets and cannot be updated. Tuple can be thought of as read-only list, right? Let's see what are the operations that can be performed by using a tuple. So again, like list, we have defined a tuple, but unlike like list, instead of using a square bracket, we are now using parentheses or round brackets. Then again, we have defined a tiny tuple, again in parentheses, by only two variables. So just like a list and a tiny list, we have defined a tuple and a tiny tuple. Print tuple will print all the elements defined by that variable. Print tuple 0 will give us the first element of the tuple. Print tuple 1:3 will give you only two element of the tuple, because leaving aside 0, 1 and 2. 3 minus 1, so 2. So 1 and 2, only two elements will be getting an output. Next is print tuple 2:. So right from 2 to end, we will get 2, 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So 2, 3 and 4 elements will be printed. Tiny tuple into 2 will again print the list twice, and tuple plus tiny tuple will concatenate the contents or elements defined in the tuple with that of tiny tuple. The last data type in Python is called as Python dictionary. Now, Python dictionaries are kind of hash table type. They work like associative arrays or hashes found in Perl, and they can consist of key value pairs. A dictionary key can almost be any Python type, but are usually numbers or strings. Values, on the other hand, can be any arbitrary Python object. Now, the major difference in dictionary is that dictionary is defined by using a curly braces, and the values can be assigned and accessed using square braces. For example, here we have defined a dictionary, curly braces. The another dictionary is 1, which indicates assignment operator. This is 1. Dict 2 indicates that this is 2. Again, we have defined a tiny dictionary wherein we have assigned name, and name is associated to John. Code is associated to a number, and department is associated to sales. Now, when we write print dictionary 1, what should we get at the output? We should get this is 1, because when we refer to 1, this should be printed. As we have said, the dictionary works like a hash table. So this is how dictionary will work. Next, if we write dictionary 2. So what is the meaning of dictionary 2? This is 2. So this is 2 will be printed. Then print tiny dict, right? So what was the tiny dict that we have defined? The entire value defined under this tiny dictionary will be printed. Now, what are the dictionary keys? So, values written before the colon will be called as dictionary keys. So, name, code, and department are the keys which are not going to change and will be common even if we have 1,000 rows of entry. But the different values can be John, the employee code, and the department to which that person belongs to. So these are called as dictionary values. So when we write dict values, dictionary value will give us the value associated to this, and it can be a unique name, unique number, or a unique department, right? But when we talk about keys, keys will be only one key, but there can be multiple values or multiple entries within that particular key. So in this lecture, we have covered the different data types in Python, starting from number to string to list, then tuple, and last is dictionary. Thank you. Python data types. So Python has 5 standard data types: number, string, list, tuple, and dictionary. First of all, we'll see how we can execute Python numbers. So we will take a code block. Python numbers or number data types store numeric values. Number objects are created when we can assign a value to them. For example, let's take any variable a equals to 1. So that means a number has been assigned to a variable a. Let's take another variable like 10 miles equals to 1000 and so on. So here we are assigning number to the variables, right? So this is the first type of data type which is called as number data type. We can also delete the reference to a number object by using the delete statement. The syntax of the delete statement can be del. It can be variable 1, variable 2, variable 3 and so on, right? So using del syntax, we can actually delete a number assigned to a variable. Python supports 4 different numerical data types. Let's see what are those. It can be int, it can be long, float and complex. So Python supports 4 numerical types: int, long, float and complex. So Python allows us to use a lowercase with long, but it is recommended that we can use only an uppercase capital L to avoid confusion with the number 1. So Python displays long integers with an uppercase L. A complex number consists of an unordered pair of real floating point numbers denoted by x plus yj, where x and y are the real numbers and j is the imaginary part. So now let's take, and here we have taken some examples how we can use an integer and how we can use a number. So this is about Python numbers. So number data types store numeric values. Number objects are created when we assign a value to them. For example, variable 1 equals to 1 or variable 2 equals to 10. Python supports 4 different numerical types: int, signed integer, long integers. They can also be represented in octal and hexadecimal, float, which is floating point real values, and complex, which defines the complex numbers. Here we have defined a variable num, which is equals to input, enter a number, num 10. If I try to execute this code, I will get a text box wherein I can write any number. Let's say if I want to assign value 20. So enter a number 20. Next, int 10, float 10, right? So the moment we have defined float 10, this number will be represented in floating point form. Let's write these two codes separately. The moment we use a single code, it will mean that it is a string. So here int 10, again we'll write float 10. So float 10 will give us 10.0. So this is about the first data type, which is called as numbers. Let's move to the second data type, Python strings. Strings in Python are identified as contiguous set of characters represented in the quotation marks. So Python will allow us to either pair of single or double quotes. Subset of strings can be taken using the slice operator and with indexes starting at 0 will indicate the beginning of the string and working their way from -1 at the end. The plus sign is a string concatenation. Concatenation means whenever we want to combine two strings, we can use a plus symbol, and an asterisk is the repetition operator. When we want to repeat the string twice, thrice, we can use this asterisk operator, so it will be used as a repetition operator. Let's see how we can define a string. So let's take any variable. Let's say a equals to, string will be always defined either in double quotes or in single quote. Let's take an example. A equals to gu. Let's execute this. Again, I'll take a new code block. I will write print a. Let's see what do we get at the output. I will get GU because GU was a string which was written in double quotes. Let's see if there is any difference in double quotes and single quotes used in strings in Python. Let's take another. B equals to, we will take single quotes GU. Run the code, take a new code block, and let's check by using the print command. Let's execute this. Again, I will get the same output, GU. This means that Python allows us to use string either in double quotes or single quotes without any difference. So this was the first string feature that we have seen, that it can be represented in quotation mark, and Python allows us to use either pairs of single or pairs of double quotes. The next was how we can check the indexing. Indexing means referring the value located at a particular location. Let's take this example. We have defined a variable named string, and inside this variable name we have assigned a value hello world with an exclamation mark. This string is given in single quotes. Let's see what output we will get when we write print string. So when we write print string, we will get the complete string value. So the complete string value is hello world, which we have got. So print string will print the complete string defined by the variable. Next, we have written print string and in square bracket 0. 0 refers to the first character of the string. So whenever we write 0, 0 will refer to the first character of the string if we are moving from left to right. So when we have defined print string 0, the first character H will be retrieved and given as output. The next is print string 2:5. Now let's see what we will get in 2:5. Let's count 0, 1 and 2. So it says it should be 2:5, and the last element will be last element minus 1. That means 2:5 we have to take only 2, 3 and 4. So H is 0, E is 1, L is 2, 3, 4. So if we write string 2:5, the indexing output we will be getting is only LLO, which will refer to second, third and fourth character of the string. The next is print string 2:. Now let's see what will happen for this particular statement. When we have not written any value after the colon, it will print string starting from the third character. So 0, 1, 2. And since we have not mentioned anything after the colon, the entire string will be printed as the output. The next is when we want to repeat the string. So as we have seen in this property, that asterisk is the repetition operator. We will now see how we can use this asterisk as a repetition operator. We have written print string into 2. Since we have seen that asterisk is a repetition operator, it will print the string twice. Let's see whether we have got that. Yes, hello world, and again the second string hello world. So we have got the string repeated twice. Now, suppose when we want to add some string along with what we have defined in the variable. So, hello world, and then we want to attach one more string or concatenate one more string to the same string which we have defined. So, this kind of plus symbol will print the concatenated string. It will combine the new string with the old string and it will give one output. Let's see what we have got. Print string. String means hello world plus test. So plus is a symbol of concatenation. So we have got a new string which is hello world test. So this is about the second data type in Python, which is called as string.